Yo, what is up guys? Guido here, back again with another mini bike video. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace your mini bike rod or upgrade to a Predator Performance billet rod. Now this video is going to be very similar, if not identical, to your common mini bike motors out there. This is a Predator 212 non-Hemi right here, but this video will work with the Predator 212 Hemi, the Coleman clones, the Hondas. All of these will be very similar with installing a different rod or the stock one or a upgraded one. This is the ARC Predator 212 non-Hemi rod right here that I'm going to be putting into my motor, and this is going to be a full-on complete step-by-step video on how to install this. So let's just get straight into the video. So the tools that you are going to need to take off the initial parts is, first of all, you're going to need a Allen key wrench for your clutch, and also for my clutch, the bolt is a 13mm wrench that you need to take that off. Now this is going to be different if you have a torque converter or whatever you have on your mini bike, or if you already have your motor completely torn apart. Just skip ahead a little bit in the video to where I actually go and install the new parts and stuff. But like I said, you're going to need a 13mm wrench and an Allen key, like I said, depending on what you have on your mini bike. Then what you're going to need is, in my case, I also need a Allen key as well to take off my valve cover. Now for you guys it might be different. This is just my scenario of what I have, and I have Allen bolts that hold on my valve cover. So for you guys it might be different, but you need a Allen key to take that off. Then what you need is a 1/4-inch ratchet with a 10mm socket on there that will be used to take off the side cover bolts. And I recommend having like an extension just because it's kind of nice. Just, you might need it, who knows, depending if your motor's on a mini bike or not, but it's just nice to have extensions, so I recommend you have those. And then you're going to need a 3/8 socket, that's a 12mm, and also your 3/8 ratchet to go and take the head bolts off of the mini bike, so then the whole complete head can come off. Okay, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the bolt that is holding on my clutch, and also if you have the little Allen studs, which also hold on the clutch, you'll need to remove those as well. Now that the clutch is off, I'm going to go and take off the bolts that are holding on the side cover on right here. They're super easy to take off. You just go and undo each one of these, and then your side cover will just go and easily just slide off. Now that all the bolts are completely out of the side cover, it should just easily just slide off. Now if this is if you're doing this to a brand new motor, it should just easily just slide off, like easily, because the motor hasn't been rammed. And if you're doing this on a motor that you've had for a while, it might be on there kind of tough, because obviously after a while of riding the mini bike or go-kart with the motor running, the gasket will kind of get hot and it'll seep the side cover next to the block, so you might have to kind of wiggle it really hard, or get some sort of screwdriver or some sort of like a plastic scraper or something to go and pry the side cover out. Just when you do that, make sure to be very careful, because it is really easy to go and scratch this cast aluminum right here, because this is just really just weak material, and it'll just go and put a scratch right on your block, and then you'll have a leak. So just when you go and do that, just be very careful with it. So now that everything is completely off right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the gas tank. Now you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to do it just because it's easy, just, more room. So let me go and do that real quick. So now what I have to do is I just have to take these Allen bolts, which are holding this valve cover on, and with those bolts out, the valve cover will just come straight off, just like this. Now what you have to do is you have to go and take off these 4 bolts that are holding on the head. There are 2 here, and there are 2 that are inside the actual head assembly. And with the 4 bolts being removed, your head on your mini bike will just come straight out, just like this. Make sure you go and grab your little push rods right here. Just go and jiggle them around until they come out, just like that. And then your whole head is completely off, and then there are your push rods right there. Now with the initial parts completely removed, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your cam and you're just going to pull it out just like this and put that to the side. And then right here, these are your valve lifters that are in here. They're probably going to fall out, so just go ahead and just take them out. Get the other one as well. So both of these will come out. Now what you have to do, you have to go and unbolt the 2 bolts right there, one there, and then one right there, so then you can remove your rod so you can install the new one. Now the one tool that you are going to need to unbolt the rod is you are going to need your 10mm socket on your 1/4-inch ratchet to take off the 2 bolts that are holding the rod on. Now once your rod is completely unbolted, you can just grab it right here and just push it out, and then your piston will just slide on out. Now what you're going to need is you're going to need like a dental pick or some sort of little like fine tipped like little pick, or a like really small skinny screwdriver or something, and you're going to need some pliers or some tweezers or just something to go and get the little clips out that are holding the piston to the actual rod. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get your little pick, and I'm not too sure if you can see inside of there, but right there's a little clip that is in there that needs to pop out, so then your rod can come free from your piston. Okay, so as you can see, this is the whole assembly right here. Now there's a little clip right there that you just go and pry out of the little rib right here. Now as you can see, we left this side because you can just slide it out, so that was on this side, but I'm showing you guys what it looks like right here, and then you just get a little screwdriver or a pick in there and then just kind of go and pry it out and it'll come out. Then this comes out just like this, and then your rod will come off, and then here is your piston. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your 1/4-inch ratchet with your 1/4-inch 12-point socket on there, and you're going to go and loosen the 2 bolts that are holding this rod assembly together. Now what you're going to do is, now that your rod is completely apart, you're going to get some oil, and you're going to get some on your finger, and you're going to go and put some oil on the back and also on this part of the little bearings that they include. There's one here, and then there's one here, and once these have oil, you're going to go and place them in there just like that, and then same on this part, just like that, and then you're going to go and tighten this together on to each other so it will go and seat the bearings in place. Okay, so as you can see, everything is all lubed on the inside. I also went and put some oil on the bolts because it's a lot of, stress and strain just putting the bolts in dry. So you're going to want to put some oil or lube or whatever on the bolts. Now what you're going to want to do is just with your little ratchet, you're just going to want to tighten these down just the way it is right here. You want to do it pretty firmly, but don't, over tighten it. Just do it where it will go and seat those little bearings. Everyone's calling them bearings, but I think they're more of like a race, but they're called bearings. So you're just going to go and tighten it down until those bearings seat. And then I've seen a lot of people where they go and pull this full crankshaft out, and then they go and get the plastic gauge and they go and put it on there. And then I've seen a bunch of other people where they're just doing it the way I'm doing it, where you just go and you tighten it here to go and seat the little bearings together, and then you go and bolt it on there, and then you do 20-pound or 20-inch-pound increments with your torque wrench, because you're going to need a torque wrench to go and torque this down on to the crankshaft right here. So it's whatever way you want to do it, but like I said, I think doing the whole plastic gauge thing, I wouldn't say it's unnecessary because it's good to check your clearances and stuff, but I've seen so many people just doing it the way I'm doing it, where you just go and seat the bearing, and once the bearing is seated, you take it apart, and then you go and install it onto your crankshaft, and then you torque it to 170 inch-pounds, and then you just do it by 20-inch-pound increments. So that's what I'm going to do. Just one thing to note when you're putting these bearings in, as you can see right there, how like it's kind of cut and bent outwards, that has to go in the little notch of the rod right here. So as you see how it's kind of cut and bent outwards, right there, that has to go and notch in with the rod. And then as you can see on this too, how it's cut out right there and notched out, it goes in the notch of the actual rod. So just keep that in mind so you don't install it wrong. Okay, so I'm not really sure if you can see, but I have the little clip inside, and make sure when you're doing it, see how there's a whole indentation in there. Make sure the clip is how I have it, where there's where the clip isn't covering it, because if something goes and hits it, your clip will come out and then your piston will become unconnected from here. So make sure you have it the correct way I have it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get this, you're going to put oil on it, you're going to slide this thing through, and then you're going to go and put the other clip on the other side. But make sure you go and put your rod back in between here before you go and slide this over. Now, as you can see, once everything is all installed, you have everything all completely lubed up in there, because you never ever want to install something that's like a moving part like this dry, because you're literally going to lead to catastrophic damage. So you want to make sure everything's nice and lubed up in there. I recommend just using your regular motor oil, or either use some, like, oil like this that I'm using right here. This is really, really good oil. I really, really like it. I use it pretty much on everything, and it's amazing. Or you can even use some like assembly lube, whatever. Just I recommend using something, because you want it to be like this. You want it to be nice and smooth. If it's not, then you need to go and lube it, because like I said, it's going to lead to catastrophic damage if you don't. Anyways, once it's all completely like this, now what you're going to do is you're going to go and slide it in to the block, and then you're going to need a piston compressor to compress the rings and push it in, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now what you have to do is you have to install the whole assembly into the block. Now what I've done is I've went and put oil all along this whole entire piston right here, and I've also went and put a bunch of oil on the inside right here, so everything's going to be a nice smooth install, and it's not going to be dry when you go and initially start the motor. So now what you have to do is you have to take your assembly, make sure it's in the correct orientation, that the billet rod will go down, and make sure it's going to be in the correct orientation. As you see, the way I have it is going to be correct. Once you go and install the other part, it will be perfect. Now you just want to go and gently slide it down. Make sure you know where the arrow is on your piston. You want to make sure it's pointing down. And just be very, very careful, because you don't want to go and force this thing in if it's not going to go in. So what you want to do is just be very gentle. As you see, it went in, and just slide it down just like that. Now what you're going to need is you're going to need a piston compressor like this. Put it around your piston so it compresses all the rings in, and then I recommend just getting like a mallet or like a hammer, and use like the rubber end of the hammer to go and pound that in. Don't use anything directly on the piston, because you don't want to scratch it or crack it or damage it. So as you see, I have the piston compressor completely around the rings. Everything is all good. Now what you do is you just take your hammer like this. Don't hit it in like this, that's not good. I recommend just using this. As you see, it's a nice little rubber end, and you just take that and you just lightly tap it in, and your piston will go straight down in. Just don't hit it hard, because you don't want to damage it, and also use something soft and rubbery like this. Okay, so as you can see, we have the billet rod where it's supposed to be, pressed up against there with the little bearings in. The piston is completely in the way it's supposed to be. Now what you have to do is you just have to go and install this up into there where it's supposed to be, just like the old rod was, and then put in the bolts. And then I recommend putting some oil on the bolts to torque them down, because it's just a lot of stress on the bolts. And what you're going to do is you're going to torque them to 170 inch-pounds, and you're going to do it by 20-pound increments. So you just have to install that and then torque it down. Okay, so as you can see, the piston is compressed in exactly the way it's supposed to be, just like that. Everything is perfect. The rod is completely in there, the exact way it needs to be. As you see, I did the torque wrench. I started it off 20 foot-pounds on both, 40 foot-pounds on both, and just went up by 20s. And now everything is all on there tight. And then the last thing to do is just spin it over. Make sure everything clears. As you can see up top, right there, it just barely clears. Then make sure it clears down there. And if everything clears, then you are good. Now what you have to do, since everything is completely all installed the way it is, you just have to go and install all the parts back onto the motor. And as you can see, everything is completely installed on this motor. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was very helpful and informative to you guys. I hope if you guys were maybe scared or, didn't want to open up your motor to, go and like actually work on it and stuff, I hope this video gave you guys a little bit more confidence, and I hope it was a very easy tutorial for you guys to follow. If you guys have any questions, please comment them in the description. I will answer every single one of your guys' questions. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and peace.